Hi everyone, welcome to WESIE Today's video is for the coaches in the house, although if you're an athlete listening or you're an athlete in transition, I think you would also benefit from this video. So I'm going to be talking to you today about how you can create a star player or how you can extract star performances from your players or your athletes, so to speak. Um, so um, there are three key things. This is just the first. I'm going to do a series on this. So I'm going to do a couple of videos on this, but this is the first one. So I'm going to make it light and simple as an intro. And I'm going to talk about three ways by which I think that you can create star players or create or extract star performances from otherwise average players and average athletes. This applies to all people, all coaches in sports, but maybe a little bit more relevant if you play a team sport, or even in terms of athletes. If you run, relay, etc., I think you could probably take something away from this video. So there are three ways, and the first one on the list is building healthy relationships with your athletes, with the athletes you coach. And that sounds very simple and basic, but what I've found certainly over the years, I've done this for about 12 years, longer than I can think. And certainly we set up the academy about 6 years ago, so we could do this in a more intentional and focused way. And one of the things I've noticed from mentoring coaches over the years, and mentoring sports coaches over the years, especially because I've mentored a lot of coaches in particularly challenging terrain who have managed to go from literally from coaching on the streets to coaching internationally. And one of the common threads that I've noticed myself is that there's a lot of coaches out there that think they have healthy relationship with their players or don't really care. In fact, let me just be blunt. There's a lot of them that care more about the sports and are so passionate about what they're doing and the sports that they actually forget about building relationships and healthy relationships, not just any relationships, but healthy relationships with those they coach. And and I've devoted a whole, I talk a lot more about this in some of the books that I've written, and the programs that I run for coaches. So if you want to find out more about that and go deeper into these things, you can visit our website at www.wesieacademy.com. So building healthy relationships with coaches is so important with your players and athletes, because I found even as a player, coaches would always say communicate, but actually not a lot of coaches are good communicators. Not a lot of coaches know how to get the best from those they coach. And the truth of the matter is that if you're ever going to be impactful, if you're ever going to be a great coach, then you must be able to build healthy relationships with boundaries and relationships that lead to you impacting your player's life. You cannot impact someone, you cannot tease out the best from them if you can't relate with them. So if you're carrying a heavy stick around and you're over discipline, if you take discipline too far, we know discipline is important in coach, but you should never stop relating to your players, your athletes, and those you coach with. You coach human beings, and the best way to get the best out of human beings, whatever field you are, is to be able to relate with them. For them, I know that personally, even when I was a player, the coaches that influenced me the most were the ones that I just felt they cared about me. That kind of warmed my heart, and that always inspired me to dig deeper. Whereas there were some coaches that I felt didn't give a toss about me, didn't have any respect or any regard for me, and they treated players that they felt were star players, but in a different way to others. And some would say that's life. But like I said, we're talking about being able to create star players, not poach them, because some coaches just go out there to poach. And in my experience, that may win you a game, that may win you a couple of games, it may even get you to the final stages of a competition, but it will not make you a great coach, and it will not allow you to win consistently, and it will not help you to create star players, and it will not help you to extract star performances. In other words, you may be a one-hit wonder. This video, and I'm talking to coaches that actually have a desire to be great coaches, to have long-lasting careers, because what I call great coaching is is basically a career and a lifetime. It's not just, we're not just talking about a season, we're not just talking about a tournament or a championship. And that's can only come from you being able to build star players in a consistent manner and extract star performances from your so-called average players. And you know what, that average player that you think is an average player, if you are able to do that consistently, and we know that greatness and great coaching is all about consistency, you may well just create a star player without even realizing. And this applies whatever level of coaching you're coaching, because there are great players, you know, in fact, especially when you get to the pro level, because when you get to the pro level, everyone is talented, right? We've all done the same drills. We all understand the technical side of things. As a coach, you know, you're on par. So what separates you from the next coach? I would say it's not about the technical side of things. It's not about your technical knowledge. It's something as basic as being able to build great relationships and healthy relationships with those you coach. So that's the first one. The second one is how to maximize, is about you being able to maximize your performance as a coach. What do I mean by that? Let me expand a little bit. So there's a lot of coaches, and I think in one of my books, The Truth About Great Coaching, which I think I have here. So you get this book when you sign up to our programs automatically, but if you want to buy the book or access it, you can also on its own without the program, you can do that. So in my book, I talk about 4 different coaches. You have the coaches that just are happy to show up and basically be involved in the sport they love. And some of them do that for 50 years and they're okay. And by default, they will have some impact, but it's about the degree of impact we're talking, right? Then you have the coach that is happy to just, you know, show up, win a couple of games, be there, they're doing their thing and what they like. Then you have the coach that is like, no, I want to win. And I'd want to do it consistently, you know. And those are the coaches I'm talking about, I'm talking to today. So if you're one of those coaches, this video is for you. And how do you do the only way you can do that is by maximizing your own performance. So we're not talking about you maximizing the performance of the players now or the athletes that you coach, but actually, how do you maximize your own performance as a coach? Now, in all the years that I've mentored coaches, I've never once spoken to a coach about their technical ability. And that's because I really genuinely believe that if you're a coach of a certain level, I know we have cowboy coaches, but I'm talking to, you know, reasonable, decent coaches. I know that you have a basic knowledge of your sport. And I know most coaches take pride in doing accredited courses, learning the technical side of things. So I don't feel like I need to waste much time talking about the technical side of things, although once in a while we may have technical conversations when I'm mentoring, but I don't dwell on that because I feel as if the same way a star player has that X factor and is able to switch it on and off sometimes intentionally, is the same way as a coach. I believe that as a coach, you should have that X factor. You should be able to maximize your performance and you should be able to rise to the occasion. And that can only come from an inner reflection and from you starting from the right place. And that's starting with the fundamentals. A lot of coaches don't even have the fundamentals. So having good fundamentals, and what I've seen over the years is that coaches that are really tenacious and are committed to learning, committed to self-development. Like I said, I don't run technical programs per se, but those that come through my program have testified of the impact it's had. And that's because I really believe it's about bringing out the best in the coaches. Maximizing your performance as a coach is about filling in the gaps. It's about, you know, being able to give you that extra 5% that your competitor may not have. How do we extract that? You know, everybody has it in them, and a coach, and everyone has a USP. And I've devoted a whole chapter in my book to the coach's USP and developing your USP, because when you develop your USP, you're able to maximize your performance. And if you're able to maximize your performance, you're able to maximize the performances of those that you coach. It's actually not rocket science. It's actually quite simple, but like with a lot of things, it's the implementation that can be a bit challenging. So basically look to maximize your own performance as a coach, because if you're maximizing your performance, then you will by default maximize the performance of those that you are coaching, and that will inevitably help you to create star players and extract star performances from your athletes. And the final one that I wanted to speak about is um, holistic coaching. So we've spoken about healthy relationships. We've spoken about the importance of maximizing your performance. And the third one, oh, sorry, actually, no, I tell a lie. The third one is about you avoiding the what if syndrome. What is the what if syndrome in sports? So the what if syndrome is another thing I devoted a whole chapter to, is there's always a reason. You know, it's a bit like players that give excuses. To be honest, what ifs are just excuses. You know, there's a lot of what ifs people, but some of the common ones I've heard over the years that I've been doing this is, what if I had more money? What if I didn't have to deal with politics? What if I had access to better facilities and infrastructure? What ifs? The problem with what ifs is that you can't answer that question. And when you focus on that, you, in a way, without realizing it, you hand your destiny to another person. Basically, you allow your circumstances and other people to dictate what you achieve and what you can achieve. And I don't think you should give that much power to anybody. So forget about the what ifs. Don't allow yourself to be a victim of the what if syndrome, and focus in and turn things around, you know, because in all honesty, the what ifs is the key to your success. Sports has always been about overcoming challenges, and sometimes the greater the challenge, the greater the victory. So I want to encourage you today not to focus on the what ifs, you know, in terms of the negative things. Rather, think about, what if I could overcome this challenge? What if I could push myself that little bit more as a coach? Because as you're pushing yourself, you know, it's not just about pushing your players, it's also about pushing yourself, and pushing yourself consistently, you know, because if you push yourself consistently, then inevitably that will transcend to the impact you're having on your players. So I said it was a short video, so I think it's 12 minutes, so I'm going to stop there. Like I said, this is a series, so I'm going to do a couple more videos to help you as a coach be able to extract star performances from your athletes and create star players. All right, that's me, Funke Energy from WESIE Academy.com. I'm out of here. Take care. Bye bye.